Hello and welcome to NewsCentre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. In a significant change from its long-stated position, the Union government has decided to include enumeration of castes as part of the upcoming census. The government is yet to announce when the census would be conducted. Key opposition parties, including the Congress and the RJD, has for long demanded for a caste census. The Congress party had highlighted the caste census as a pivotal part of its manifesto. BJP leaders, including Prime Minister Modi, had criticized the Congress for demanding a caste census. In July 2021, Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai had told the Parliament that the government has decided as a matter of policy not to enumerate the caste census and also caste-wise population other than scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. BJP's ideological fountainhead RSS, however, has taken a more nuanced stance. They did caution against using caste census as a political tool, while highlighting that the government needs the numbers for all welfare activities. To take this discussion ahead, I'm now joined by Sandeep Shastri, Vice Chancellor of the Jain University and Supreme Court lawyer and political analyst Desh Ratan Nigam, also an RSS ideologue. Also joining us on the program, political analyst and academician Manisha, Priyam. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Manisha, Priyam, let me begin by asking you, till 2024 Lok Sabha campaign, the Prime Minister and the Union government were saying that the rights should be based on the population. And you cannot be dividing the people on the basis of caste. Why do you think this change in thinking in the government has come about?
I wish there was a government spokesperson who could have spoken to you about why the government has changed its stance. From the outside, we could only be looking at the possibilities within which this decision has been taken. You're right in saying that the RSS for a long time, for the longest time, does not believe in this type of caste-based reservation. And its political leadership has been, of course, with certain upper castes. But what we need to remember that somewhere along the way, even the RSS changed its strategy, the Madha strategy, for example, wherein they built a strong base amongst the OBCs in the state of Maharashtra, where the RSS has its headquarters. So it's not correct to say only the upper caste or only a Brahman Baniya coalition. There were some changes in thinking. You saw Kalyan Singh in Uttar Pradesh or Uma Bharti as important OBC leaders. You also saw very important tribal leadership that was promoted by the RSS, Babulal Marandi, the founder chief minister of the state of Jharkhand, and Arjun Munda. So in a sense, the stance of the RSS is more nuanced than what you think it is. And as far as the inclusion of caste as a category of enumeration when the census will be undertaken is in fact a concession. But at this point of time, the BJP as a political party is poised to take on the erstwhile Janta parties or the Janta Dals or the erstwhile grouping of the socialists whose conventional plank this has been. And without doubt, it is the Bihar election in mind, where if the BJP does not portray itself any longer as a party of the backwards, or it does not pitch itself in the Agada Pichda battle in Bihar, it's also a state where there is a sunset of socialist politics. And I believe the political timing of this announcement has been very, very opportune. In politics, timing trumps over everything else. So the move is certainly political. The plank taken over from the socialists and also from the India Alliance. However, as of today, it's a government announcement. A government announcement led by the ruling BJP and its Prime Minister, the Sri Narendra Modi, as they go into the Bihar state election.
All right. So Desh Ratan Nigam, perhaps you're in a better position to explain us the thinking of the RSS and the government as to why this was important. What the opposition is asking and what a lot of people are trying to understand, why this particular timing, why was this decision done? Till about a few years ago, you were very clear about this stand that any kind of decision on rights has to be based on the share of the population. How do you think things have changed? If you could give us a sense of the RSS thinking on this.
Well, in fact, RSS has made it very clear, Parikshit, that this caste census should not be used as a political weapon, like one caste being played another and dividing the entire society. Because the goal of the RSS is to unite the Indian society and bring social harmony. So one has to be very careful while implementing it that it should not create new fault lines and one caste should not play against the other, and nobody should do it. Because the Congress was demanding this particular aspect and some of the opposition parties in order to counter Hindutva and the cultural nationalism of the BJP and the RSS. So that should not be the motive, because it should only be a scheme which should be data-based affirmative action. So that should be only our goal. Instead of using it as a political weapon, it should be used as data should be used as an affirmative action to uplift certain.
But Mr. Nigam, all right. How is it helpful at this stage, at this day and age where we are right now? And what are the safeguards would you like to have in this exercise as well?
Well, in fact, the timing, well, all political parties are in competitive politics. It's about winnability. And BJP is also a part of that particular setup, but with a difference. So that is why I'm saying BJP's and RSS goal is not to use it as a political weapon and play one caste against another. The safeguards need to be we should be very careful as to how to implement it. Let's say, for example, while enumerating the caste, there are other castes as well, like OBCs. There are state lists and central lists also. And the general category castes also needs to be counted. So it's a very complex task. And there should be some change in representation of People's Act that you should not ask vote on the basis of caste. If caste census is being done, only done for affirmative action, not for, seeking votes on the basis of caste.
Right.
That's the one red flag that I'm flagging.
All right. I'll come back to you, Mr. Nigam. Let me also get in Mr. Sandeep Shastri. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to have you, Ms. Manisha, Priyam, and Mr. Desh, Ratan, Nigam on CNBC. I would straight off like to ask you, what experts are saying that doing a caste census as part of the larger census exercise that we do, it's not difficult. But the fact is, what are the consequences after that? What would that be according to you?
Parikshit, while agreeing with what the previous analyst said, I'd make in the time I have three very quick points. Number one, when a government has to a certain extent back to the wall, you pitch for extra time. And now by saying that you will have a caste census as part of the next census, you are pushing the whole debate by at least a year or two now. And therefore, all this discussion of the caste surveys across the country would be put on the back burner, hopefully, because now you're looking at a caste census. Secondly, in important ways, what the ruling party has done is that it has stolen the political clothes of the opposition. The opposition was consistently making the point about the caste surveys. So now you say, yes, we have also adopted that and we have taken it a step forward, and something which has not happened since independence, we have made the caste factor a part of our census. And third and last, let's remember for some time now we have had two narratives on social justice. A narrative which the India coalition has come up with about the need to enumerate caste to decide upon what is the type of reservations they should have. And secondly, you have the NDA-led narrative, which talks of everybody being one and the whole question of the whole nation being one. And in the light of that, accepting the fact that there is a need for this enumeration, especially when you're talking about a reservation policy. And lastly, Parikshit, I'd also make the point that however much we may talk about 21st century Bharat, I think caste continues to be a critical identity. However much we say, no, we don't want to do anything with caste, that continues to be a critical identity. Identity in politics, basically to try and leverage advantages, which you cannot wish away so easily. And therefore, the census becomes so important. But then it's a promise made. You really don't know when that census will happen, when those numbers will be counted, when the results will be out. So you have much more time available now to take forward the debate.
So, Mr. Shastri, that's a very important point.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because about how to ensure the transparency in the way you enumerate the caste.
Right. Now, when we speak about caste enumeration, the question that Jairam Ramesh of the Congress is asking, you've got the headline, but what about the deadline? So it's quite possible that the BJP the government by announcing that, yes, we will go for a caste enumeration, but not giving an exact deadline for it. And as you rightly said, that this exercise could take 2 years or more to start and conclude. And in the middle, starting with Bihar, in all the elections, the BJP will reap benefits of this. Do you believe?
This is like the women's reservation bill, which was passed. This is like a post-dated check with the amount with the receiver, but neither a date nor a signature. That would be the problem for me with it.
All right. Ms. Priyam, what do you think about the political implications of this? We're looking at, of course, a very divided political structure, a heated opposition, both in parliament and outside. This is a demand that Nitish Kumar had also made. Yes, the BJP and the Prime Minister have managed to blunt the attack of the opposition. But what immediate political benefits do you see out of this?
See, I think this is a great experiment by the BJP. The BJP wants to take on the mantle of the Samajwadis in the heartland of where it all began, in BP Mandal's heartland. Remember, they were able to ease out Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav as the chief minister when the BJP was not even in power with the Chara Ghotala case, etc. Then they waited in the wings now for close to quarter century, Nitish Kumar as the chief minister. Now, as the two Jayaprakash Narayan chelas and, groomed by Karpuri Thakur himself, Nitish Kumar and Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, both of them are fairly senior leaders in the sunset of their health and political career, things that I'm respectful about for their long and standing innings. Now here you have the BJP playing what is called collaborative games, not necessarily challenging either of them, not necessarily being very vitriolic to Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, but taking the agenda as their own. Now, if you see, there is no tall Samajwadi leader when the Prime Minister will speak about Karpuri's Bharat Ratan, when the Prime Minister will talk about caste-based enumeration. I can't imagine a political leader from the other side at the hustings in Bihar being able to take on the Prime Minister. So here it is an open challenge. The Congress can try and come into the debate. What the opposition or the India Alliance would need right now is tall Samajwadi leaders who are able to stand up and counter the Prime Minister. Can you name some? And the answer is, I can't find one. So therefore, if the Congress is not able to get their alliance partners, people like Akhilesh Yadav, for example, would have been able to take this up somewhat at the hustings and in electoral battles. In the political campaigning in Bihar, I do not see now a Samajwadi leader stand up as tall as the Prime Minister. And let's see whether the Prime Minister can reinvent himself as a Samajwadi regional leader who's taking on the backwards in the battle. Now remember, the BJP in Bihar has been a party that kind of attracted all those who are opposed to Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav and a lot of the forwards. This would be a complete somersault, a political risk and a calculation. Let's see how it plays out. But on the other side, I would see the forces weakly aligned for the moment.
Right. Mr. Deshratan Nigam, one important point is the fact that when you have such a caste census, along with that, you must have a lot of data on the economic situation of the people, the social situation as well. What is the timeline? What is the best possible time period within which this exercise should be completed according to you?
Well, in fact, these are very complex issues. And as I said, that the danger is always there as to how you do it and playing one caste against the other. If you recall in 1871, when the British started the caste census for the first time, they wanted to divide the Indian society. And therefore, that danger will always remain. The timelines, it's very difficult to give timelines because 2026, I believe, is the new census when the delimitation exercise is also to be done. And that is where I think they'll have to start working right from now. And it will take probably a year or two, probably 2 years to do it. In 2011, socio-economic enumerators was also taken into account while doing the census. So our census commissioner and the staff do have some kind of an experience about collecting socio-economic parameters from the people, but it has to be done in a very different manner now. So far as the time period is concerned, I think it cannot be done, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Shastri, that it can be done in 6 months or so. It will take its own time, and it has also to be very careful about the pitfalls that you have to face on the way, because Bihar's caste census, there were enough amount of mistakes and errors out there. The numbers were not correct, and therefore one has to be very clear, because people will try to inflate their numbers so that their caste gets more weightage. So all those factors have to be taken into consideration. Therefore, it is an exercise, a humongous exercise, where it has to be transparent, avoid pitfalls, and not to do in a jiffy, in a hurry, because it will be a record or a base for future census also, where additions have to be done to it. So one has to be very careful and not do it in a hurry.
Right. My final question to Mr. Shastri. Mr. Shastri, do you believe that there could be a legal challenge to this as well? It cannot happen immediately, because right now there is only a political intent. You do not have anything in black and white. But as and when that happens, do you think at some point there could be a legal challenge?
There is unlikelihood of a legal challenge until the census per se happens. Once the census happens,
till the findings are out,
and the data is out, then questions relating to X caste, Y caste, enumeration, bringing together, and more importantly, subsequent to that, are you going to use your caste data to redefine your quantum of reservation? Because there is a Supreme Court judgment which says reservation is an exception and the right to equality is a rule. And the exception can never exceed the rule, and therefore the cap of 50%. Now, if that caste census is going to be used to expand the quota of reservation, I think there will be a range of legal hurdles that come in, given the light of the Supreme Court judgment on this matter. And given the fact that the Supreme Court interpretation that reservation is an exception and the right to equality is the rule. Now, that I think will be an important point which will invite legal attention.
You're right, because the Congress party has also said that we are going to start pressurizing the BJP to remove the 50% cap on reservation. And as you said, this could lead to a challenge once the findings of the survey and what the government does with it is clear. Thank you very much, Ms. Priyam, Mr. Desh, Ratan, Nigam and Sandeep Shastri for joining us on the program. It's been a very interesting discussion. We're taking a short break here, but coming up 10 days since the Pahalgam terror attacks, as India weighs its response, several conversations have been held between Indian cabinet ministers and their US counterparts. We take stock of all the action after this break.